We're going to get started. We've got the live streaming going.
Good.
All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Northwest Florida Forward Entrepreneurship and Innovation Council Roundtable on K through 12 and post-secondary education, focusing on entrepreneurship curriculum. My name is Naisy Dolar with the Business Innovation Center in Panama City, Florida, as well as I'm co-chair of this particular council, and I'm co-chaired with Wes Hutchins from Gulf Power, who is currently on vacation, and so lucky him. But we're here today, and he did all this great work before going on vacation. So I appreciate that, and I put that on for the record. Also, as part of the thanks, I wanted to thank the Doolittle Institute for doing the live streaming today, because it's been great to have a historical record of the different council meetings that we have had, and so appreciate it again for doing that, as well as Northwest Florida State College for hosting us and being so helpful related to the place in which we are meeting, which is a great central location for the entire region. So just to get started, we keep with what we do with these councils and just have some fun as we introduce everybody. And what we would like you to do is just tell us who you are, where you're from, and your earliest memory of entrepreneurship. So who would like to begin?
Let's start with the moderator.
Okay, Randy Ramos, our moderator today.
I'm Randy Ramos. I'm the CEO of GBSI. We're an IT and cybersecurity company located in Pensacola, Florida. So my first encounter with entrepreneurship is when I got called down to the guidance counselor office in 6th grade for selling bubblegum in the school. I had bubblegum on the bus, and people wanted a piece, and I said, well, no. And they said, some kids said, well, how about 25 cents for a piece? And I said, well, yeah. So then that started my business, my first business of selling bubblegum in the school. Well, got in trouble for that, called the counselor's office. Counselor walked me outside the door, pointed to the sign up that no soliciting, in the school. And it was the sign. I said, okay. So that ended my quick startup. Carla? That's Carla.
Carla Ross, Washington High School, Pensacola, Florida, 35-year teacher, and I have a marketing entrepreneurship academy there. And we run the school store, the Cat Shack. And my earliest encounter with business was designing clothes in high school for my classmates, and prom, homecoming gowns, things like that. I always had a love and an affinity for sewing, and that's where I started my design career.
May I remind people to who's on the conference call to put your phones on mute? Okay, thank you.
Excellent. I'm Jim Sparks. I'm the program manager for the Center for Entrepreneurship at the University of West Florida. And my earliest memories, to be a little bit cliche, I, of course, had a lemonade stand where I made hundreds and hundreds of pennies as a little boy, and then moved into delivering newspapers, something called Grit, way back in the day, which I guess really is more of a franchise opportunity than a true startup. But those are my early memories.
I'm Amanda Negron. I'm with the Shoe Educational Foundation, and my earliest entrepreneurial endeavor was probably, we had in Germany, we were an Air Force family, we had current berries that grew in our yard. And my sisters and I started our own little jarring company, and we sold them to the local neighbors. And I'd say the hardest part of that company was the communication, because our neighbors were not English speaking. And so we had some hurdles there, but it was successful.
I'm Ken Baldoff. I direct FSU's new innovation hub. And I've been at FSU teaching mostly technology for 25 years now. And I started as a grad student there the year that the web was born. The Mosaic browser was released, and I was starting my master's degree in computer science. And I took to it like a fish to water and discovered the power of the web very early on, and started developing online courses. and ultimately worked with Thompson Publishing and Cengage Learning to develop an online delivery mechanism for their content. And I think a lot of us are entrepreneurs before we understand what entrepreneurship is. And that was my case in recent years when our School of Entrepreneurship started here. You know, I thought, well, you know, those are the entrepreneurs, but I'm not sure I'm an entrepreneur. And then you reflect on the things that you've done to create new systems, new businesses, and you think, well, maybe I am an entrepreneur. So I think, you know, early experience with entrepreneurship, later realization of your own entrepreneurial capabilities.
Hi, good morning. My name is Bree Castle. I'm a business advisor with the Florida SBDC. And I guess my early memory of starting a small business is like similar to Jim, the lemonade stand. We lived in Atlanta, Georgia, and it was really hot during the summertime. So we'd have frozen cups of lemonade for 25 cents. And it was a really big success. And my parents, they kind of were cool with us, like making a mess out there. So it's nice.
Yeah, good morning. I'm Bailey Musselwhite from Pensacola. Currently with a little company called Pensacola Social Desk. Say probably to kind of relate into that. The very earliest was probably when my brothers and I would sell bagged roasted peanuts in the beautiful downtown of Leesburg, Georgia. All of that, either individually or with my family, I've had 4 or 5 different businesses over the years.
My name is Lacey Pyle, and I'm with the Doolittle Institute. I'm the marketing manager there. And my first memory of entrepreneurship was also a lemonade stand with my little sister. And I quickly learned that a police officer is much more willing to pay $10 for a cup of lemonade to a pigtailed 6-year-old than an awkward 13-year-old.
Hey, I'm Steve Bailey. I'm from the Doolittle Institute. So my first experience, I think, with entrepreneurship would be, well, I grew up in Ohio, and so I always took advantage of the first snows and the lake effect snow coming on. So I spent a lot of winters knocking door to door, asking them to shovel their driveway for a few bucks so I could have some spending money to go buy bubble gum at the store or whatever. So that's my first experience with entrepreneurship. A lot of hard work and sweat, you know, shoveling driveways. So.
Yes, and we're here.
I'll stand up. My back isn't to the rest of the room. I'm Lori Anderson. I'm with Escambia County School District Workforce Education Curriculum Specialist, and one of the academies under my umbrella is the Marketing and Entrepreneurship Academy at Washington High School. So we are glad to be here. And this really was, I wasn't the entrepreneur. This was my sister. We tease her about it to this day because it's totally gross, and I don't think she would ever do it again. But she used to, there was this particular oak tree in our yard that had worms on it, and that we called them oak worms. And she would pick them and put them in a coffee can. And my dad said that he was taking them to work and selling them for 75 cents. So that's, you know, she would never do that. And I would never do it either. So thank you.
I'm Ben Schumann. I'm with the Okaloosa County Career Tech Education. My first encounter was also in grade school. We had to draw maps as we go through. I discovered this wonderful thing called onion skin. You can lay over and you can trace the maps through. As I'm doing this, other kids in my class were doing, hey, Ben, how about, so I did sort of the same thing. No, I don't want to part with mine, but then they started offering up money. And so then I discovered a flaw in my business plan. I never reinvested my money back into more onion skin. And for some reason, my parents were not willing to front my costs for me. So that was the death of my program also.
So I'm Kelly Reeser. I'm with Florida West Economic Development Alliance. I manage our incubation program, CoLab, in Pensacola. And similarly, elementary school, we went blueberry picking in early June. We stood on the side of the street and sold those blueberries. I don't remember the price point, but that was the first time that I'd encountered a challenge. We had an adult old lady who lived right next door, and she said, well, I can go to the commissary right down the street and buy them for such and such, which was less than. And I do remember realizing, like, you know, first reactions, yes, ma'am, I understand, we'll lower the price. Then I do remember us having a conversation that Well, the gas that it would take for you kid from Cantonment all the way to the commissary, you would, negate that. Anyway, there's that price there. So I was challenged in early elementary school. Maybe it helped develop that grit that your entrepreneur needs.
Morning, Scott Swanson with the Doolittle Institute. Remember growing up in Minnesota having apple trees and trying to sell apples in our small cul-de-sac neighborhood. Not a lot of a market, but if I went a couple of blocks down the road to the bus stop and set up a little stand, then I could sell probably 10 times more. So learned very quickly that having a good market is important.
Good morning, my name is Kenita Mitchell, and I assist Mrs. Ross at the Marketing and Entrepreneurship Academy at Booker T. Washington. And my earliest experience of entrepreneurship was dog walking. I used to walk dogs in elementary school for $3 for 30 minutes. So that was my earliest experience. And I had a pretty good clientele. So.
Kim Wellness, Florida's Great Northwest. When I was in middle school, we had a really good family friend who played a lot of basketball. And his goal, he wanted to start a basketball league because he knew everybody that was playing basketball. So he actually started this basketball league. He now has a manufacturing facility for uniforms, sports uniforms in the Philippines. And he produces these uniforms and the league is huge now. So that's like a real, I was like, you're gonna do what? And then now I'm in Vegas and I'm in the Philippines. I'm going back and forth between my manufacturing facilities. I'm like, you're crazy, but that's awesome. But just how something like that, I mean, he was so passionate about playing basketball and he had connections, work for the Philippines and his family's, they're there and he knew people who could make, and it was just an amazing story. So he's living life right now. And I'm like, I should have gotten in with you at the time. But no, that's my first experience. Thank you.
My name is Brian Baber, and I teach entrepreneurship at FSU Panama City campus. I've been doing that just for 2 semesters now. I've been an entrepreneur most of my adult career. I mean, a couple of businesses, a real estate company, and a construction company. But my earliest memory of being an entrepreneur was as I was it was in an early elementary school, and I remember I wanted to earn some money, so I went out, decided I was going to rake leaves. So I picked the house that had the most leaves, and my best friend and I teamed up to go do this, and we spent 2 days raking the leaves. We got them all done, and then we didn't negotiate for any price to start with, right? So then I went to the door and I said, "Hey, we're finished. We've spent these 2 days here," and then she proudly put these 2 shiny quarters in my hand, and I just thought, there's got to be a better way. That didn't stop me though. I ended up spending most of my middle school and high school career mowing lawns and taking care of lawns and stuff. So, but it was a good learning experience to learn up front how much you're going to get paid before you commit to something.
Thank you. Those who are on the phone, anybody, just chime in. Your earliest memory of entrepreneurship. Introduce yourself as well.
This is Lawrence Tinker with the Florida Institute for the Commercialization of Public Research. My first earliest memory of entrepreneurship was having a paper route and getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning every morning to go deliver like 150 papers on a bicycle. The delivery was okay. It was the collections that were the problem. And so after a couple of years of doing that, I wasn't making a lot of money because people didn't always pay up on their bills. So that's my first memory.
Great. Thank you, Lawrence. Anybody else on the phone?
Hey, this is Chris Middleton from the University of West Florida. Since you stole my paper route story, I agree that collections was definitely the problem. My second story is the wad of cash I had from running a lawnmower company. I had 14, but then my buddy had a lawnmower company that he sublet out to the other kids and had even more money. That was my lesson in watch let to employees.
Great, thank you. Anybody else on the phone?
Good morning, Naisy. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, this is Nicole G. Pleasant. I'm with the University of West Florida. And when I was a Brownie Scout, we sold a whole bunch of Girl Scout cookies, and so that would have been my first entrepreneurial experience. Great to hear you guys on the phone today and everybody in the room.
Yay, good to hear you. Anybody else? Okay, I know somebody just walked in the room.
Patrick.
Pat?
Patrick Rooney with Florida West Economic Development Alliance. I work in the co-lab, the incubator there, as the business coach. I tried being a paper boy very briefly. I didn't like getting up that early. I tried working at a gas station, and we got commissions on selling cable to people back in the day when it was full service, a nickel a can. Probably that was my first notion of working for money, where I felt like I was an entrepreneur selling for a commission, but not really. I think probably my earliest actual memory is working while I was at Pensacola, then junior college, for an accountant, and seeing all the entrepreneurs that she provided bookkeeping and tax services to. And I was very impressed by the variety, from road paving companies to florists to funeral homes. It was just a variety of different kinds of people, and that sort of sparked my interest.
Gotcha. Okay. And then my earliest memory was when we had to always do these fundraisers for the schools and then sell candy. So I thought, well, why can't I just ask my mom to buy me a box of candy and then sell candy? So I asked her to buy me a box of blow pops. And on the school bus, I'd sell the blow pops. But then what ended up happening is I consumed a lot of the inventory because I love blow pops. And so that was my first earliest memory. And my kids, we had a restaurant and I had them do this little sweet treats store, and they did the exact same thing I did. They ate their inventory. So that's a problem for us. But anyhow, that was my earliest memory, and I appreciate everybody sharing it. It's just a way to connect a little bit differently, and also to kind of drive home why we're here, which is ultimately to support a curriculum and programs that actually foster that entrepreneurial spirit. So the next item on the agenda is actually an update by Kim Wilmes for the climate update.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone. Just want to give you a quick update. I know you've probably all seen the videos or the information, but just as a quick summary of where Triumph is right now. They've awarded $19 million out of the $300 million. There's 4 major projects that the funds have gone to. One is to the Port of Panama City, $10 million for expansion to the port. $1.5 million to Okaloosa County to help get Shoal River Ranch, which is one of Northwest Florida's, but also the state of Florida. I used to work at the state. It's one of the most beautiful pieces of flat property in the state of Florida, but they need water and sewer in order for that to be up and ready and running for a company to come and locate there. So they're getting $1.5 million to put in that water and sewer, so that can be a premier industrial site for expansion efforts. $3 million to Escambia County School District for workforce development programs in IT, cybersecurity, advanced manufacturing, and aviation and aerospace. And then $3.75 million to Wakulla County School Board for career and technical education programs for automotive and HVAC industries. That's all really good dollars for really good spend, in my opinion, the first tranche into using the Triumph dollars. So I think the board's doing a great job in making those awards. Some of the things that Chair Gates had asked the board to discuss at the last meeting, which is in the beginning of April. A lot of questions that were being asked by folks who were wanting to submit proposals was whether or not a private company could receive funding for something built, privately held and built on private property. And although their attorney had said it's probably not a good idea, the board themselves felt like they didn't want to put a blanket, no private sector companies involved. They do want to look at projects on a case-by-case basis, which I think is smart, because you never know what we're going to come across. I mean, who knows? What if Amazon actually did want to locate and looked at us? Would we allow that to happen? I think we would try to make that happen. It's not going to happen here. We don't have the folks, we don't have enough people. But if a project of that magnitude came along, I think they would like to have a conversation about it and not just put a blanket no because of the criteria. They did suggest to look at some public-private opportunities. So if there's a way where you can match the private sector with some public sector dollars or other funding sources, that's also another way if they'd like to consider projects. Again, just trying to make that money go as far as possible and in smart uses. Second question they asked is whether or not Triumph would be comfortable making multi-year funding commitments. Just for example, with the Port of Panama City, that project in and of itself is a multi-year project. They felt that as long as the project concept made sense, as long as that there were key milestones and there were deliverables at certain points in time, that they would be fine with committing those dollars, but committing within the $300 million that they have in hand. So we know that they're going to get, I want to say it's almost $70 or $80 million every year for the next 15 years. The board did not seem comfortable in awarding those other dollars just yet. So within the $300 million, they can make multi-year funding commitments. And then the final question they asked to discuss was whether or not Triumph could delegate their authority to other groups of people. I guess there have been some proposals where they have been asking for whether or not they can get a pot of money and then that organization could then dole out the money, and they weren't comfortable with that. Again, I think if the program and concept itself made sense, that it's something that, you know, if you've got some private sector, public sector, you know, it doesn't hurt to talk with the Triumph administrators, Corey and Rick Harper. But on the face of it, the way that it sounded is, you know, they've been charged by the legislature to make these decisions and have the authority to expend the funds, and so I think they want to remain in control of that. So it was a 3-hour meeting. There's a link online. I'm happy to share it if you want to include it in the minutes for those of you who want to actually sit for 3 hours and watch that. But it was a very good and informative meeting. So any questions? Next meeting, June. It is. Hang on real quick. Let me triple check. I believe it is June. Sorry. No. I should have had that on my notes. If anybody knows off the top of their head, please feel free to chime in. June 12th. June 12th at 10:30, and it is in the Escambia County Commission Chambers in Pensacola. All right. Any other questions? All right. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Tam. All right. And then just in terms of looking at the way we want to bring everything together on a regional approach, just want to remind everybody that if you have an event that's coming up, we can post events that focus on fostering entrepreneurship or strengthening the ecosystem on the Northwest Florida Forward Entrepreneurship and Innovation Council website. So ideally, if we can start using that a little bit more as a general practice of posting our events on those sites, I think that would be beneficial for the entire group. And so just email them to me or to Wes, and then we'll post it for you. Okay? And we've got 2 upcoming events that are coming up this week. And Kelly, you might tell us when the next 1 million cups is?
Tomorrow.
Oh, tomorrow. So the next 1 million cups is tomorrow. You want to tell?
Absolutely. Sure. Briefly, anybody who's not familiar with the with 1 Million Cups, it's a national brand initiated by the Kauffman Foundation. We brought it to Pensacola about a month ago. We have a group of 10 or 12 local organizers, and we meet on, we're doing the 2nd and 4th Wednesdays of the month, 9 a.m. At Co-work Annex, downtown Pensacola. Would love to have you come. It's a great way not only to provide people, interested parties, an easy entryway into your entrepreneurial ecosystem. You say, hey, come, if you're interested to be a part of the conversation. You might be a service provider, you might be a support organization or an entrepreneur yourself. Come, provide your feedback. It provides the opportunity for 2 companies each meeting to pitch, give a 6-minute presentation on their business. Might be early stage, fewer than 5 years is kind of what we're looking at. Less than 5 years. Sorry, whatever grammatical. A bunch of money. It needs to be there less than, fewer than, I don't know. But this group would be able to tell me. But then But then they might be a more established business, but just in need of some feedback on a new business model or business product or service that they're rolling out. Anyway, tomorrow's presenters, Just Happy Hours. It's an app to find happy hour locations near you. And then the other company is called NewBev, which if anybody's been to Innovation Awards competition the last year or so, that NewBev was one of the winners there, and they're a very good market really at that point. So tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., come join us. Thank you.
All right, and the other event to highlight for this week is this Thursday in Panama City, on Panama City Beach, is Tech Farms Open House. And so that's from 5:30 to 8:30. Steve Millway has been an active member of this council. He would like to invite everybody to come to the open house for sure. And so if you need any information, you can go on Eventbrite and look up Tech Farms Open House, and you can find the information there. Okay, and so as a part of this initiative, just want to kind of share a little bit of history, especially for those newcomers that might be here, as well as just reminding us about why we are here. Today's focus is about Goal 4 and in the Northwest Florida Forward strategy approach, 4.7, which is basically support entrepreneurial programs to grow the entrepreneurial spirit. So this goal and strategy is part of a long-term plan of Northwest Florida Forward, the TIP strategies, as well as the Forward Steering Committee. There are different subset strategies, and subset strategies were the subset strategy focus areas were basically on the accelerator and incubation focus, as well as access to capital. So, and today's subset strategy is on entrepreneurship curriculum, the K-12 curriculum and post-secondary curriculum. So without further ado, I wanted to kind of set the stage for that and make sure that we understand that that this is really a grassroots approach to ensure we take a deep dive and understanding these different perspectives and focus areas, so that in the long term we can develop a plan for the entire region. In order to kind of get us thinking about these things, wanted to start off with a little bit of a video of a program that was worked through with Rising Leaders Academy, which sorry about that, which is this fun video about a micro-society curriculum that was, in which we work with the Business Innovation Center.
My name's Carla. I'm with the Business Innovation Center, and we're having a start weekend this weekend. And we made a part of our and to involve other groups that are also working with entrepreneurs, one being Rising Leader Academy. And as you see behind me, all the activities is that actually their marketplace here at Gulf Coast State College as a part of the weekend. Thank you.
Onto the post, and then you can have phone or key or like a binky, and you can take the container that comes with the These are the small ones that are the the races are for the large necklaces are 8, the medium necklaces are 7, and the small necklaces are 4. They can be made by hand, and they are not bought, they are made by us.
So there were over 60 businesses that got started from start to finish with this program. It was a year-long program to develop a micro-society, and approach, and then culminating in a marketplace at Gulf Coast State College. So just wanted to set this tone, and then Randy Ramos will help moderate for the rest of the panel from the Global Institute.
Global Business Solutions.
Global Business Solutions. He was highly recommended as a moderator, and so thank you.
I appreciate those kind words. So I think the introduction was kind of fun. Here we were talking about, you know, our ideas for entrepreneurship as young children. I can only imagine if there was a curriculum program when I was younger in school that would have given me a little bit more direction, possibly, or foundation about how really to go about. You know, maybe I wouldn't have been, my business wouldn't have been shut down so quickly by the council at the school. You know, so that idea formulation, the business planning, you know, we heard Chris talk about the financial issues of the franchise lawn business that came in and disrupted his marketplace. Your accounts receivables, Patrick was talking about that, collecting that money from your paper route, all those kind of things. So you can imagine, you know, the marketing and the finance and things like that. So I think a curriculum program that's so important. And we look at what has happened just over the last few years, that these were like workforce education programs that have pushed into post-secondary, that have now pushed into secondary. And you saw from the video, it's gone down into primary. This is incredible. This is what happens, right? So we're going to talk about curriculum, but one of the things I want to point out that I just noticed here, and you know, forgive me if I'm just rambling here, that's what entrepreneurs do, is that we have a perspective from Miss Carla here from Washington High School as secondary curriculum. We have a perspective here from Jim as post-secondary. We have a perspective here from Amanda from nonprofit and probably into primary and secondary. And then with Ken on the end there coming from an incubation standpoint. So I think we'll hear perspectives all along the line here about the curriculum. So this first question, and we'll just start with Carla, is about entrepreneurship curriculum. Briefly describe the program at Washington High School, and we'll go on down respectively. And then maybe any significant event that's coming up or special interest that's coming up within the program.
I'd like to talk about where we were and how we're growing. And we started in the textbooks about 10 years ago in teaching the concepts of marketing, business plans, and part of our curriculum, it's a co-curriculum project, is with DECA. The students are able to take the projects they work on in class and compete on the district, state, and international levels against other students, you know, with their business plans, advertising campaigns, and all those financial plans, all those components to make a business run. The thing I love about our program is that it's our applied curriculum projects. It's our lab, and our lab is the school store. The students have an opportunity to run an actual business. So we start them, they have 2 years before they even get to that point. But as I said, it's been teaching them in the textbooks from their first year. Second year, it's applied curriculum. And then the third year, they're actually hands-on in the school store. And I'd like to defer to Ms. Mitchell, who is a former student of mine, but she's brought in a whole new concept. As I said, we were in the textbooks, and she's taking us online. So Panita, if you'll address that and let them know how we're growing in QuickBooks and all those things.
So yes, I started out with Miss Ross in my high school years, and I graduated in 2002. At that time, we did not have a school store. We had Otis Bump Bar cookies. That was our, and it's still our #1 seller, by the way.
But they smell so good.
Yes, they do. We call it scent marketing. That's what it's called, scent marketing. It goes throughout the events of the school, so the kids are swarming for the cookies. But as she stated, we have grown. We've grown tremendously since she started the school store in 2006. I want to say 2006. And coming from working, you know, with so many businesses and things, you know, we've expanded. For next year, we're going to have to incorporate QuickBooks. So that's a certification we're looking into doing. We are now shifting from the textbook. We are trying to implement what's called MBA research. MBA research is a curriculum. They write all of the testing materials for DECA as well as FBLA. I don't know if you're familiar with those two organizations. They write all the curriculum for them. The good thing is they also have a marketing curriculum. They have an entrepreneurship curriculum. So we're shipping to them. They keep everything updated, whereas the textbooks, you know, you have to order them every so often. Every couple of years, they have to be updated. It can be pricey. With MBA research, they're continuously to update material throughout the school year. So they'll send, you know, news story links and things like that regularly, so we can keep with the relevance component of the Career Academy.
Let me just jump in real quickly. So is the program at Washington High School a career and technical education program?
Yes.
So is there K funding certifications that are kind of like being earned? Can you just share that?
And that would be Ms. Anderson.
Yes, it is an academy, and when folks aren't familiar with academies, it's a course of 4 courses, and they start the first course in the 9th grade, and then they just continue and move through it in their senior year. And then Randy mentioned the K, that is strictly in the state of Florida. It's in statute, the Career and Professional Education Act, where there is a list, which we call the K funding list of industry certifications that the state will fund with FTE money at either 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, depends on the level of difficulty on the exam. For, in particular, the Marketing Academy currently, for their students that work in the school store, they have those students test and certified in ServSafe, which if you've been in a restaurant or fast food, you see those certifications posted on the wall. So her students are earning ServSafe, and those are funded at a 0.2, which means $800 per certification earned comes back to the Marketing Academy, and it's managed at my office, and it's used for training and resource and upgrades to curriculum, DECA trips, and then we're looking to add now, since they're going to introduce QuickBooks, we'll get the QuickBooks certification for the students as well.
So those that are listening that are secondary educators, this type of program could be sustainable.
Absolutely.
And self-sustainable through funding.
We were just talking about that on the way here, that the goal is, there are many certifications out there that aren't on the K funding list, but the goal is to stick with what relates to your curriculum that's on the K funding list and sustain your program, because we do have to buy the vouchers.
So let's just move on to post-secondary. Let's hear about that.
Well, that's quite, I haven't put it together, but I'm pretty sure that one of the Washington High School students has their ServSafe, is now in our MBA program, trying to start a food truck.
You know the name?
I'm not going to on the live stream, but we'll talk about it later. I may be wrong, but I'm pretty sure.
Isn't that how it's supposed to work?
That's exactly how it's supposed to work. But so at the University of West Florida, of course, I work at the Center for Entrepreneurship, but I want to talk a little bit about the non-center education as well, just to kind of give the big picture. So we have curriculum and we have training programs. So the College of Business, we have an undergraduate minor in innovation leadership, and this is open to all students. And then we have an undergraduate certificate in small business management and entrepreneurship that's only available to community partners. So this isn't even student focused, but like big employers that want to get some
workforce education.
Yeah, workforce education, you got it. And then at the graduate level, we have an MBA with an emphasis in entrepreneurship, which is the program I came out of. And then we also have a certificate at the graduate level, a certificate in entrepreneurship, but that's open to everybody, but there's a pretty good number of prerequisites that you have to take, and you should have information about those programs on the table. And then we're also in the process of developing specialized curriculum for programs. So this summer, we're launching something called Hacking for Defense, which is an initiative from the Research and Strategic Innovation Department, which is in partnership with the Department of Energy and the Air Force Special Operations. And they have a cohort of students starting right now that are going to be working on these big problems for the military and energy sectors. And then we also are piloting a course called Technology, Engineering, Entrepreneurship. And then we're also working with one of the faculty people to develop a new internship this semester, where instead of going out to one company for the entire semester, they're actually going to a series of different companies, solving a problem for each of them. So It'll be really interesting to see how that kicks back, given that real world experience. And then on the training side, of course, we have, I think most of y'all know, we have the SBDC, which is housed out of UWF for the region. And then the College of Business holds an event that's called the Elevator Pitch, which is typically about a month-long process where the students go through that ideation all the way through business model and pitch. And then that theoretically leads into the Code Fest, which happens out of the College of Science and Engineering. And then at the CFE, where I work with Dr. Anelli, our goal is to help students lead successful careers and lives. And so we provide a series of high impact events every month. And then a lot of that looks like a speaker series where we'll get 40 to 150 students that show up every week to these different events. And then what the feedback came was that they really were looking, in addition to the speaker series, they wanted more rich interaction with the speakers. So we started doing these series of meet and greets where only a dozen or so students could actually come out and meet with a panel of people on a very informal basis, sort of like this. So that's been really effective. And then our special event that's coming up, we're going to be doing our second Da Vinci Innovation Celebration in the fall. This is approximately 6 weeks long, very similar to Elevator Pitch, except it's really about creating a buzz. Where's the idea? And they don't have to do a business model or anything. We just want to get them excited, come out, come up with an idea, and then pitch it to a panel of experts and present it to everybody. And I'll share that pitch day date with you guys as soon as we get it finalized through the fall semester.
Before we go on, I'm sorry, Ms. Carla, was there any special event or significant interest that's going on in Washington High School that's coming up? Starting in the fall, right? Amanda, share.
Yes, well, I'm Amanda Negron. I'm the Executive Director for the Shoe Educational Foundation. And the Shoe Foundation is a nonprofit started by Dr. Paul Shoe. He's a very successful tech entrepreneur in this area, has grown and built companies that are in need of talent. And so he was inspired to solve this problem. He also watched his own children come up through the schools locally and lead for Silicon Valley, and they're all very successful tech entrepreneurs in their own right. And so a couple of years ago, he took his own philanthropic efforts and started to formalize relationships with other companies and partners who are also interested in providing an industry solution to education. We recognize that we should have an investment in these students as well. Our districts are working very hard to accomplish graduation for all of these young people, but also once they get to that graduation, we want them to have all the tools to succeed that even wrap around those standards that they're being taught in the classroom. And most of this has to do with entrepreneurship and innovation, critical thinking, the ability to handle rigor, challenges, overcome hurdles, because failure, it should not be the last thing and the end all. It should be the beginning. For most entrepreneurs, failure is just the first step. And so the programs that we support are multifaceted. Everything from teaching awards that we began about 4 years ago. We've given over 70,000 at this point to teachers in our Okaloosa County region, starting in the more rural part of our county in North Okaloosa. Trying to not only inspire and recognize teachers that are doing taking innovative measures in their classroom, but also bring more community awareness and business interaction to the table, because ultimately these kids are coming into their businesses or they're going to be working alongside them, and we'd like to have there be more transparency and collaboration. And so by letting our chambers of commerce be involved in that program, we have ratcheted up their involvement in the schools and awareness of where there are opportunities to be more involved in the classroom. From the student perspective, there's a lot of programs that are maybe not taken advantage of fully by students because just purely they're not aware. They don't have the funds maybe to participate, or there's not physically space for these clubs to grow. And so some of the solutions for these problems can be handled on the outside through business sponsorship, involvement, providing centers where interactions can take place between mentors, subject matter experts in these clubs. And then also just giving our educators greater exposure to these opportunities, because many of the educators in the schools are actually asked to step up and lead some of the extracurriculars. There's not funding for this. So additionally, we have to make it easier for companies to say, you know, I see what this teacher is willing to do after school and on weekends. You know, let me sponsor that opportunity. Sometimes it's hard for them to know where those opportunities are. So we try to facilitate that. We want the robotics, the OM, the cyber patriot, all of those are their skills, and there's no test at the end. These kids can do this with the freedom of exploration and you know, not fear failure in that way. So we actually want them to go through a little bit of failure. Entrepreneurship wise, we've got some programs that are in the hopper right now. We're planning 2 centers in Okaloosa County, innovation centers in the north and the south, to be in our industrial spaces. And we'd like to have some of the so-called soft skills be woven through that. So in order to levelize up through the programs that we offer, they have to complete certain exercises, entrepreneurial leadership exercises, and have some accountability. So at the same time, it's like they're having fun, but they're also, you know, having to accomplish some tasks, like in Scouts, where you have to earn your badges, you have to earn your stripes, right? Same type of thing, but in STEM. We feel that STEM is absolutely the precursor to entrepreneurship opportunities in this country, and a good foundation in STEM is going to help them no matter what career route they go. We don't know, you know, how far they'll take it, which section they'll grab onto and go. We hope that they will not close doors off based on preconceptions about certain career fields. And so in this setting, we think they'll be more free to explore without, you know, some of these ideas about technical careers, you know, are really coming from their parents or from their community. And if we make those things more fun and more exciting, then we'll inspire them at a young age to start, you know, thinking about careers early, especially high demand careers. And so what do we have coming up? Camps happening this summer. One's coming up June 18th. We have 20 kids. With our camps, they're free. We have businesses supporting these camps, and the kids that are scholarship in for the programs are actually ambassadors from their schools. And we hope for these kids to be ones that maybe haven't been given an opportunity before to jump into this type of experience. I mean, to put it this way, there's a lot of kids that have very advocating parents that will get them into every single, I know because I'm one of those parents that will make sure that they find every single opportunity. There are a lot of kids that maybe don't have that at home. And they are really the target for us because they could be very successful. So with our schools, the teachers, the churches, and other community organizations. And then we have a Drone Team Challenge program that is getting launched this summer. We have some Air Force grant supporting that program. We're very excited about it, and there's going to be some camps happening in July to introduce the applications of you know, aerospace and mastering flight, and then starting into simulation drone autonomous flight. And so this is going to be a 4-level program that we're very pleased to bring to our local students and hopefully get regional and national with it.
Thank you. Ken is with the FSU Innovation Hub, and when you see Ken get up in about an hour, it's not because he's mad. He has another commitment in about an hour. So Ken, will you share with us?
Sure. So at FSU, we've explored these concepts of innovation and entrepreneurship together and separately, and ultimately decided to provide resources in both of these areas. You know, asking questions like, do entrepreneurs have to be innovators? Do innovators need to be entrepreneurs? And ultimately, we have 2 new programs that have just started this past semester in January. the new school, the Jim Ryan School of Entrepreneurship, and our new Innovation Hub. I serve as the director of the Innovation Hub, and I have a courtesy faculty appointment in the School of Entrepreneurship, and so can represent that program somewhat, but not nearly as much as I can the Innovation Hub. Brian Baber is here. You can fill in, Brian, if you think of anything I'm missing here. And the course I'm teaching for the entrepreneurship students, and actually for all students, is a design thinking course called Innovation by Design. This all started about 3 years ago when I had a conversation with our provost about developing an innovation center on campus. And she was very excited about the idea. At that point, we were thinking it was going to be a technology, coding, makerspace type of a place, you know. And I spent a good 2 years exploring innovation centers and innovation hubs around the country. And I discovered that there is no solid definition of what an innovation hub is. If they're offered out of the College of Business, it's going to be a business incubator. If it's offered out of the College of Engineering, it's going to be a makerspace. If it's offered out of the Center for Commercialization, it's going to be a faculty. It's going to be a public-private partnership type of. And those are basically the three types of innovation centers out there. We decided for FSU, since we already have a really strong office of commercialization, we already have Innovation Park, and we have the brand new School of Entrepreneurship, that our Innovation Hub had the opportunity to be something totally unique to FSU. Along my journey, I discovered design thinking and was totally taken by the concept. And ultimately, am teaching a course in there. We had 90 students in it this semester. Brian's teaching it here at Panama City as well. And we believe that design thinking ultimately encompasses all the types of qualities and skills we're looking for in higher education. This idea of empathizing with problems and people, this idea of interdisciplinary action, working with teams on problems, the problem solving, critical thinking, all of these different types of things that are natural to design thinking. Action-oriented education, and getting outside of the lecture hall and outside of the textbooks and actually working on problems together. So that really has been what the Innovation Hub has become. The one sentence I came up with that kind of describes it with a lot of trendy words is that transdisciplinary discovery, design, and innovation to confront the vexing, complex, and wicked challenges of our day. Did I get all of that?
I love it. I love it.
So, design thinkers love to talk about wicked problems. It's such a cool term, right? So I did provide a handout to folks here in the room. Those on the line can just go to innovation.fsu.edu. Everything on the sheet is on the website as well. But the hub is a $2.5 million renovation of a floor of a building at FSU, 14,000 square feet, and it's equally supporting design thinking and new technologies. And the space reflects that. Half of the building is all collaborative workspace. The other half is a digital fab lab, a VR lab, circuits lab, and hacker space. We have 2 full-time employees, 2 part-time employees, 3 graduate students, and 14 undergrads. And it's very much a student-driven place. We have 14 academic partners, and these academic partners are providing demonstrations of their innovative technologies that they specialize in, and they provide us their top undergrad students to serve as mentors to other students in the space. And our services, really what we focus on is community building. So the word hub, I think, is appropriate for our space. We connect people within the university community, also in the local community, and we're starting to develop business partnerships as well. IBM Skills Academy, AWS Academy, Apple App Development Academies, all the corporations are pushing out academies to try to build their workforce. And those types of programs for badges and certificates and all these types of things will take place outside of the classroom, but in the Innovation Hub. So there's opportunities there as well. And it's a great place to explore new forms of higher education. And that's what I think I'm most excited about. Students love the space. They're ready for something like this on a traditional campus. And if you don't know, innovation centers and innovation hubs are popping up on every campus in the country, in the world. And also they're being developed by every large corporation as a way to innovate and move our economy forward. So we look at the Innovation Hub. We look at the Innovation Hub and the School of Entrepreneurship. So the School of Entrepreneurship is also an interdisciplinary program, which is very unique. It, both myself and the director of the School of Entrepreneurship report to the provost. So they're truly interdisciplinary programs. In our School of Entrepreneurship offers majors and minors, majors in social entrepreneurship and commercial entrepreneurship, minors across the board. We look at it as a pipeline. The Innovation Hub, we want students to come their first week in the freshman year at FSU, come to the Innovation Hub and start getting involved with projects there. See what your experimentation leads to. Perhaps you come up with something that could be a business, at which point we have a perfect line into the School of Entrepreneurship. Or perhaps your exploration leads to research, at which point we'll be happy to sign you up for a grad program. Or for the vast majority of students, what they discover in the Innovation Hub will lead them to be very effective entrepreneurs in their businesses, business leaders within large corporations, which I believe really needs to be a core consideration for what we're doing in universities.
You know, as I listen to you all describe your program, you talk about structure, you talk about timelines and things like that. I know we didn't go into detail about that, but I think you did a fine job of talking about those directions and how those programs fit within the school or within the program. So let's go on to stakeholders. You know, an important part of a curriculum program like this would be stakeholders, partnerships. You started all of you kind of started loop, but I think this is something that probably needs a little bit more detail from all of you on. And that's the key dependencies that are critical to success of the program. Can you just share those with us? Ken, we'll start with you. I'm sorry. Jim, we'll start with you.
Sure. So, you know, I think that you've alluded to this idea of interdisciplinariness and how important that is to creating innovation and entrepreneurial opportunities. And so we've certainly kind of run across that. We've had 80 different majors at least that have showed up to our programming. And so that turns your stakeholder base into a very different animal than saying, I'm College of Business, I need, you know, Randy Ramos to come support our program, by the way. Yeah. So since we've had so many different majors, our stakeholders have become this very broad base, right? And, you know, without a doubt, the most important stakeholder that we have at UWF and the Center for Entrepreneurship is this amazing community of entrepreneurs and community leaders and the facilitators like Kelly that have really stepped up to provide opportunities for the students. And so, you know, we have exercise science students that participate and, you know, send them to, you know, Bolt Power or something, but that's not where they're going to get the highest impact. So we need someone like out of the sports field to take these students on as internships or as mentors to help them develop their ideas further. And then, you know, of course, our entrepreneur in residence is Quinn Studer, who's a great philanthropist and community builder in our area. And by having him involved, it's enabled us to really expand our reach to where we sent out a call for job shadowing experiences for our students. We had over 250 companies respond to that call, right? And it's like, it's just unprecedented support. And so I'd definitely say the biggest stakeholder is the community. And then, but of course, we could not provide those people with students if it wasn't for the faculty. So the other major stakeholder, of course, is the faculty that's really embraced our programming and is sending us students and sharing their opportunities for students to get involved with our program. So that's where I would start.
Yeah.
I would say, you know, for us, it's definitely industry, it's businesses that we listen to where their needs are. Our programming is very agile, very quick to customize based on where they're seeing gaps between the classroom and the workplace. And then from an entrepreneurial side, Dr. Shu looks nationally and at needs coming down the road. And so we're pairing with companies that aren't in this area yet, but we're thinking, you know, they could come here. they could develop here if there was the infrastructure and everything. So our stakeholders also are people that aren't close in yet on our programs, but may have a longer range interest. But as far as our students go, we have to think a little bit more about their support systems. So, the teachers in the classrooms at the district level, and then also their families. We have a program called the Game Changers program, where on Saturdays, students and parents come together and they get to see what a business does with concepts that they're learning in the classroom. So appropriate to their age, what they're trying to learn in the, say, 4th grade classroom, they then see in the workplace. So Gulf Power or, one of the local companies will come in and they'll attack that little skill set and say, okay, how can I show what this really means? And so there our stakeholders are both the business that we're working with and then also parents, because our North Okaloosa stakeholders are a little different. They're thinking more from a rural mindset. The families generationally may have worked on farm. So when they look at our drone technology programs, they may kind of go, oh, I'm not sure, how this applies. Well, we can show them, the uses in the farm industry and how those concepts could change, how they handle agricultural, needs. In the south part of the county, we have a high military influence that often is looking at career Air Force, implications. So we take all of that into consideration when we're forming our programs. It's very important to have good communication.
Can I ask you quick?
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
Okay. I just was curious, you said that you're talking to the business or you're listening to the businesses. How do you ask them, or what's just a little bit of a mechanism to begin that conversation?
Well, we're new into this space. A lot of you have been here a long time, but we've had very long-standing relationships with many companies in the region. Dr. Shu is probably one of the greater economic development forces in our region, and so he started programs like the TechMen organization, if you're familiar with that. He was very involved in the establishment of that. And we listened from the top down. I listen to the HR managers. I handle HR for one of our tech companies as well. So when I go to SHRM meetings, which are HR professionals, I listen to where they're seeing problems and what they're seeing in their workforce, the resumes that are coming over, what's missing when the person actually, hits the ground running in their program. So all of that comes in, but yes, when someone specifically customizes a program for us, then they drive the content. We make sure it's relevant to what concepts they're getting in school. But definitely they're going to drive the focus.
And part of my question was interaction with economic development. Was there a survey mechanism?
Yeah, we have done surveys, and actually a lot of our surveys have been more on the side of listening to the parents and the students. So we're trying to transition to the other side of, formalizing data. Yeah, because it's been more, just word of mouth. Basically, people come back to us and say, I loved that, or I didn't love it. But we're trying to get it down a little more systematic than that. But the survey results that we get from, say, our Game Changers, participants has been incredible. I mean, they're even young students, I think we don't consider that they really have strong ideas about their experiences. And they'll give us feedback and say, I didn't like this, or I did like this. And so we do take that into account and try to, it's supposed to be fun. Their enrichment with us is more of, we want them to love it. We want them to be inspired and excited. That's our goal.
So keeping that conversation going. So Ken, stakeholders, are you reaching out to alumni, or how are you getting those stakeholders engaged?
So depends if you're speaking about investors, stakeholders. Our primary stakeholders are our students. So keeping them really excited about the space, providing them with new activities and programs all the time is our number one goal. Secondary, I would say, are the departments that support us. So all of the 50 departments that support us hold a seat on our steering committee. So it really is an interdisciplinary level where everybody has a voice. And that steering committee I've never been so excited about going to meetings, committee meetings, because it's just a dynamic group of people. Thirdly, it's, it takes a lot of money to run a facility. So looking for corporate partners, not only do they help finance our growth, but also they give our students opportunities to further their skills and give them opportunities for their future careers. And finally, Tallahassee, like I'm hearing about Pensacola and the other communities, it's a growing innovation, entrepreneurial ecosystem there, and things are really starting to come together between city, county organizations, the universities there, K-12 educators. It's a really exciting time to be, probably in any city, but I'm really happy to be in Tallahassee with what's happening there. So our community partners are the next stakeholders that we're interested in.
Ms. Ross, what about secondary education? Stakeholders, partnerships, key dependencies?
Absolutely. I failed to mention that in 2010, we have a partnership or started a partnership with a local credit union where we became the first high school in Escambia County School District in Pensacola to have a credit union in the high school. And 8 years later, our partner, our stakeholder, wanted to pull out, said on a corporate level, they want to go a different direction. And it's not to be in the high school. And to say the least, after an 8-year relationship where they provide financially for the students and all the rest, it was hard. And this was just a couple months ago. We didn't want to let go. And the kids were devastated because they'd already signed up and they're ready to work in the credit union and all geared up and talk to their parents. And I said, so what are you going to do? Problem solve, critical thinking skills, analytical skills. And I just stepped back and I said, you deal with it. So what are you going to do? And the students and I, along with Ms. Mitchell, sat down, brainstormed, and the students put together a luncheon, dressed up in Dress for Success, put on their suits and ties, and did the presentation and invited their corporate people down, along with the superintendent of schools, our principals, Ms. Lori Anderson, the kids put it together. Cat Shack put on a luncheon with grilled cheese and soup that you would not believe, and they still said no. Where I said, thank you so much, but very nice. So then what do you do? And the principal said, well, it was a nice run. We had an 8-year go with this. And so Ms. Ross, let's figure out what we're going to do with this space. And Ms. Mitchell said, why are we giving up? Why are we giving up? So we started knocking on doors and soliciting other financial institutions within the community. And a local, long-established one, the oldest in our community, said yes. We appreciate the opportunity. Just met with them for 2 hours yesterday and setting up training sessions for the students for the summer. These kids, after their training, are going to have the opportunity to work in the branches on Saturdays and then through the school year. And I'm excited. But what we do, and I love that wicked problem. Oh, what a wicked. But boy, to give it to those kids and let them learn how to advocate for themselves. We need to teach these kids not only how to think, but how to fight. And so, hey, that's what's going on with partnerships at Washington High School. Booker T, to say the least, and to hear that we're a pipeline for you, for your students, and then ultimately for our community. I think we're doing a pretty good job. We're making eye contact here and saying we are on track. And to be on this panel and to hear, what you're doing on your level is to say that we're definitely teaching them what they need to know to actually survive.
So you've all talked about the key stakeholder, that student. So Amanda, we'll start with you. Anything that you're doing to identify or qualify a student for these programs that you're sponsoring, or any prerequisite that you're recommending for these students?
Well, we're in the process of going through a new angle for recruiting, referring students, and that is to try and let the district help us to identify some of the target students. We really want it to be different than your traditional program in the fact that the students that are there have to have a fun experience. They have to be involved in it from like this is a choice as opposed to I'm required to do this in order to check that box basically. But targeting down our group to a more focused group does require looking at, okay, who has the greatest need for this program? And so as teachers say, I've got students that are, maybe they're getting 3s on FSAs and they could potentially be 4s and 5s because they're just maybe not inspired yet. But they're a student that would, come once a week, to the program, would have an opportunity to see some mentorship from older students that are participating already in the Lego leagues, the robotics, cybersecurity, and they might kind of say, I might want to follow their lead and see some positive role models. And so that is an angle we're trying to perfect. Right now, currently, our programs have been through referral from teachers. We go there first, and when we have open slots that are right before a program is going to come out open, then we do put it to the public more widely and say, this is going on, and if you apply, you come in. But right now it's been more by referral. Our Game Changer program, however, is always open to the public, and that's a family program. And so we get different groups every month. They're all members of the squad, but they don't have to come every month. And so some students come every single time. Homeschool groups is another angle for us because there are students that look for social opportunities, for learning opportunities, because most of their instruction is at home and co-ops. So, and most of these kids will end up in a traditional classroom environment, maybe for high school. And this is an opportunity to find out about the courses that are offered. So the CTE programs, they may not have heard about them when they land in 7th or 8th grade traditional classroom, and we'd like them to already have had that exposure. So.
Okay.
So I've always been kind of a breadth first teacher and trying to impact as many students as I possibly can. I think there's too many programs in higher education that target the top 10% or 15% or honor students or tech students. So even as we're talking with IGM about Skills Academy, I'm drilling up saying, is this just for CS majors? If we get every student involved, we give this opportunity to every student. And so really, I understand there's students that we just will never reach no matter what we do, but I at least like to give every student that opportunity. So the Innovation Hub, that's our goal, is to make sure every student is aware of the opportunities available to you.
I think sometimes we still make that mistake when we post things. Like if you have this type of skill, you qualify. If you're a go-getter, not everyone's a go-getter, but they could become a go-getter. And I think sometimes we have to, as adults, have to be careful about how we do those things. Even when we talk STEM, automatically it seems like we're talking technical. Well, there's culinary going on over here. There's other programs, customer support, customer liaisonship, management, leadership, all of that. I think we have to be careful about causing students to deselect automatically because of the way we as adults post things sometimes. Anyway.
I think that also comes into young ladies with STEM. I mean, it's still a
great point.
Big concern that we see young girls, usually by 5th grade, Ben would probably tell me that there's a transition that happens there. Either they have the confidence, they feel like empowered to pursue STEM a little stronger, or they've decided that's not necessarily my route. And so for us, the 3rd through 5th grade is kind of a key time to hook a young lady into that track and showing them mentors. So showing them women that have been successful in STEM careers is one opportunity. I know our Emerald Coast Science Center partners, we have supported them in some of their endeavors locally, and they do a session where they bring in professionals from the STEM world. And so we need to do that on a greater basis. We need to be doing this more regularly. And so at our centers, we plan to have girl-focused programs too, so that young ladies can feel empowered.
Ms. Ross, identifying students, prerequisites, and anything you'd like to share?
Feeder programs, feeder classes is what we look at. That's through guidance. That's one source of students. Guidance will send students our way that may be interested in the marketing, interested in the CAD chat, interested in the credit union. And once you go to your guidance counselors, once you go to those stakeholders and make them familiar with your program, take them on a tour, then they're so much more familiar with, if they're familiar with what we do, then it's easier to place those students. And then naturally with the curriculum fairs, the academy expos that our district puts on that are so vital to what all of our academies need, that's that exposure. And then the media, local media is invited. We have Channel 3 News, we have the P&J to attend, and they're about 700 strong in parents and students. And we'll put on the Dog and Pony Show. We open up the Cat Shack. We collaborate with a culinary academy. Those students are out there serving cookies. We're, serving refreshments from the Cat Shack, free coffee for our parents that are there. The kids are out there in their blazers and shirts and ties, and they're shaking hands and handing out the flyers and the brochures and answering, and the students answer the questions. Then the other students, the younger ones, your middle schoolers, they're just drawn to, the smell cells, they're drawn to the cookies, they're drawn to the fact that we provide a service, and then to have those students there to answer the questions. And then if they need me, I'll come along, but it's the students that sell the program. So that's how we get the vast majority of our students. I think it's why we've been so strong for so long. This is 35 years, and it doesn't show any sign of slowing down. So we've got to figure it out. And I think that, in bringing in young, able educators to pick up on what we do as we as teachers mentor those that would come along. And
so a lot of front-end awareness.
You better believe it.
And peer counsel.
That's
pretty awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for your participation.
Pleasure meeting you.
Jim?
Sure. So, we have a very stringent process for selecting who comes to our programming. Talking about smell cells, they have to have a desire for free pizza in exchange for listening to the speakers that we bring in. And, it's a little bit tongue in cheek, but we're a relatively new program, and we pushed hard to go from really no awareness on campus to having, over 600 unique students that have participated in our program with like over 1,500 visits in this 1 year or 2 semesters. And so it's really been a full court push, to get the message out over and over. And one of the things that we've kind of become known for is like, look, we got pizza, come out. And, there's trade-offs for that. Of course, some people just come for the pizza, but we always meet in the library, or we don't always meet. We typically meet in the library. So we get a lot of passerbys, and they'll come and get their pizza, and then they'll go sit at a computer and be working, but you can watch them as the conversation continues, where they're just kind of turning. And by the end of it, they're just watching the program. I asked one of them, he goes, what are you doing? He's like, oh, they got me, man. They got me. I was trying to study, but I ended up just watching this program, So it's been a pretty good thing. But with that, we now have this really deep pool of students that have been engaged 10 times, 5 times, multiple times. And we're starting to look at what is the next layer of content that we make available only to these people. I love your idea of this Boy Scout type badge thing. Obviously, we'll not call it that.
Everybody likes to go through steps and earn something. And, I know with the CAPE programs, they get a certification at the end, and at the high school level, that's usable for them. It's harder when we look at the younger ages on how we do that. How do we keep them inspired for the next level? But I think that, if they feel like they're building on something. So I've got, say, a Gold Power certification. I've got, a certification from, for us, the last one we had, it was Pioneer Technologies. For that, it was PMI, Boeing, whatever. As they get these little things under their belt, they have stripes and they're earning something. And so we want them to then feel that that's going to happen throughout their career. So it connects to, you know, earning credits at college and building towards their major.
Let's keep this conversation going right here. So how do you define student success? Or how do you measure that? What's a key indicator there? Amanda, keep going.
I think for us, you know, it's participation, ongoing participation and commitment. And so, you know, they may get that piece of paper at the end of the cybersecurity camp, but then we want them to enroll and start a cyber patriot at their school and go to the next step. And part of that is a responsibility on our end to stay in contact with our stakeholders and follow them and be a resource supportive to their participation in the program. And, you know, kind of big brother, big sister idea that, you know, there's people out there that are interested in their track. We've seen these programs that are out there through universities where they've reached down and like the Duke TIP program and some of the others where they say, you know, we're watching you. Your seventh grader is doing well. Okay, we're going to see where you are, you know, along the way. But we also offer you camps and things like that. So, you know, our partnership has been very good with our local universities and all, and we think it's going to be important that they have a role at the table as well. We're definitely an industry education solution. We're not regular, you know, educators. We're enrichment. We're offering this other side to it. But we need to keep them connected with all of the eventual receivers of these students so that they have a host of opportunities. So if Boeing has internship programs or, you know, Lockheed is looking for a certain skill or whatever, that as kids are taking those courses that would line up, then, you know, keep them, have a point of contact with that business that checks in with them from time to time.
Jim,
and that'll keep them accountable.
How are you measuring student success? The metrics to measure that?
So the majority of our events are one-offs, like a single event. And so, you know, we have our internal, like, I hope 25 people show up, which on the university campus, we think is a pretty good number. But, you know, when we get 40, we're like, this is a good event. When we get 150, we're like, oh my gosh. But so we do something called the Net Promoter Score. Like, we rate every one of our events where the participants give us a survey result. And of course, we always are looking for the 70s and above on that. And then one of the things that we're going to be adding next semester, mostly so we just not think about the semester, was to add a learning outcome measure to that little survey, to where they'll say, you know, what is the top thing you learned today? So that we can show that, one, they're satisfied with the programming, and two, that they're actually getting something out of the programming. And then for the other, some of the bigger events like the Da Vinci Innovation Celebration, you know, for that, it's really getting them through the process, getting them that pitch. There's no real score. I mean, obviously a lot of them will win prizes, but, you know, it's really getting them to that point where they're standing in front of a panel of community members and making that pitch successfully. And we're like, that's a win in our book any day. So.
Anything you want to contribute to that?
Yes, for us on the secondary level, we have rubrics that will grade their level of success for their behavior. Leadership participation, which would be competitive events, and they do well on those. Naturally, their GPAs and their grades. And then dressing for success. And these are students that are coming out of middle school into high school. So it's difficult. Not everybody has a mindset to put on the shirt and the tie or the dress suit for the young ladies. It's foreign to them. And why would they have a business wardrobe? And again, that's where DECA comes in and the competitive events. And then naturally the behavior. Our students are divided into second year students are divided. The class is divided into 5 groups. We have an accounting department. We have a purchasing department. We have human resources. We have sales and distribution and advertising. And then there's a manager, a department head, and staff. And they rotate each 9-week grading period. So the manager becomes staff, and everybody has an opportunity to be in the hot seat. That's that manager's role. How well do they handle being told what to do by their peers? Not all of them do. And again, they have to have these experiences in order to move up to run and manage the cash app or the credit union. So again, these are my measuring sticks. Not everybody gets in because not everybody has mentality, and you'll catch them over in the corner saying things that they shouldn't say to each other, and all the rest of the maturity level isn't there yet. And then if you can handle the pressure of working with each other, then you can handle the pressure of working with an irate customer or, people, that your customer base who feels like they can say what they want to say. So mine is a pressure cooker. I'm going to put the pressure on you, and when you're squeezed, what comes out of you? But they need to be given those opportunities to know, and we provide the opportunity.
This has been fun listening to all of these programs because the entrepreneurial programs at various levels seem to be entrepreneurial in their development. So let's talk about that just a little bit. So you've built these wonderful curriculum programs and you're executing these programs. How about lessons learned? Can you share with us some of the lessons learned that you've had in either developing the curriculum or running your programs? And we'll just throw it out there.
I would like to say flexibility. You need to have your thumb on the pulse of what's going on in business and industry in your community. Because what good does it do us to train students to go out to jobs that are obsolete, to businesses that don't exist anymore, and you can't get stuck in the rut. You've got to get outside of those four walls and expose and educate yourself. And I think this is where our business partners and those partnerships and advisory boards are vital.
How easy or difficult is that?
That was never easy. Oh gosh.
And it's quickly changing. It does move, doesn't it?
On
You're
every
talking about
6
change
months.
where the adaptability.
I think for us, I think we were put in our place a little bit by watching that adults don't always know best. The students sometimes know better than adults. And so letting the students help other students, giving the freedom for that to happen naturally is sometimes an important component. I mean, of course, you need a framework, but if anyone's familiar with the Odyssey of the Mind program, it's a really good example because that program, the person who I would call the coach, they're really just a facilitator of this group of young people that is solving problems. But if they insert their ideas too much, if they become too hard about, no, you're going down the wrong path, or whatever, and then it ends up, hurting the process, and they're really not supposed to do that. And we found with some of our programs, one of the first things that happened, we had a game changers where the kids were learning about drones and UAVs. And there was an issue with one of the software programs not loading properly, and the adults in the room all had the answer, right? Well, it's this, and whatever. And one of the high school students ended up solving the problem, but he wasn't getting a chance to say anything because all the adults in the room, so we stepped back and he took the lead, and it gave him an opportunity to rise up a little bit. He'd been a shy student, but he knew the answer to this problem. And so, just step back, let him have some room to do his good work. And the young people notice that. They say, oh, wow, okay, I can do that. So empowering them a little bit. I think the hot seat is right. When you say that, put them to a challenge, and let the good skills emerge. And many times kids who've been through hurdles or hard times are actually some of the best members of the team. And so one of the other things that we do is try not to over-click situations. Let them naturally happen, and where kids that don't know each other or next to each other, or different ages even intersecting, because good things will happen when it's more organic.
That reminds me of one story I can just share with y'all. Santa Rosa County ordered 3M printers. Didn't come with instructions. The teacher said, just put them out on the table. These are 6th graders. Said the kids will figure it out. The kids got into the 3M printers. They found an 800 number. They called it. It was the help desk. Talked to the help desk. These are 6th graders. The help desk called back to the school and said, we want to hire these kids. It was an incredible story, and maybe we'll get some more about that. But the kids put the 3M printers, printers together, and they're working with no instruction. I think that's classic, right?
That is a perfect example.
Classic example. Anything else you want to share here?
Sure.
Lessons
So,
learned?
one of the lessons, like we started this kind of in a vacuum, right? And so we plan out our programming for the semester. But the student feedback has just been really key now to help us like really augment the programming and then kind of shift it to really target what they're interested in. We're started out thinking entrepreneurship, innovation, and one of the students was like, we'd like to learn more about how to be a good employee. And it ended up being a great program, and a lot of students attended it. And so like that type of taking the students' perspective and their feedback seriously, I think has been really helpful in helping us feng shui our future programming.
Interesting. So those are lessons learned. What about best practices? Now, when we look at this, we look at best practices. I think you can look at it from the student perspective, the teacher perspective. So when you look at best practices, what can you share about best practices?
I can take a stab at that one. So I think one of the most important things we did that led to success in this iteration of our program was that Dr. Nelly, who's the director, made the decision on day one that he was going to go through the entire chain of command, starting at the top and work their way down and get everybody on board with the vision, the mission, and how we would potentially execute the center's objectives. And by doing that, because I was like, let's go talk to kids, let's go talk to faculty, and he's like, let's do this first. We talked to the president and her staff, we talked to the deans of each college, we talked to the chairs of each college, and only then did we start to go approach individual faculty members and students within these programs. And by doing that, we were able to scale up pretty quickly and with very little tension, right? Very little obstruction to our programs, even when we might do something crazy. And people will be like, oh, it's all right. So I think that one decision has got to be a best practice to really engage everybody and get everyone moving in the same direction.
I know you just left, but is there, Ken mentioned that they have a steering committee of all of the deans or department heads of the different colleges? And that, I guess, is a formal mechanism. Do you guys have any type of mechanism that?
Yeah, I jotted that down. We've been talking extensively about something called fellows, where we have a core of pretty engaged faculty members and community members that have helped us kind of make decisions and set strategy, but we have not completely formalized that and continue to work toward that objective. But I do love this idea.
And that was what made it was very interesting to me, was whether there may be a board of directors that he has, it's a different level, or.
Yeah, we do have a board, right? So.
And that's where I kind of thought that this steering committee idea was interesting, because it was just a formal mechanism for some of those key stakeholders together.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you for the question.
I'd say to that same question, we've kind of created a group of STEM focused people in the area, especially on the nonprofit side, where we're all doing different things in the region. And as a constellation of opportunities for young people, it's great and all. It seems wonderful that there's this over here happening this week, there's something over here, over the weekend, there could be 4 different things. But really, we realize that we're stronger if we're all kind of a little partnered up, because these kids ultimately, in order to be prepared for the next steps, they need to have a host of opportunities. They need to be exposed more as a culture approach than just one-time events. So we've created a committee that is wanting to further that effort. And so our goal is to be the connector for all of these organizations and kind of house, resources for our young people coming through our programs and say, hey, okay, you're interested in this. Well, look at biophilia, or look at, what's happening in Santa Rosa County. You live in between, you might be able to go to this as well. And there's not a lot of agencies in Northwest Florida that can serve in that capacity.
It takes a lot of energy to do something.
It does. And we have been working very steadily on a project to have a portal that will connect all of the STEM assets in our community and let that drive when we talk about getting your stripes or earning your cred as a young person, You know, we do a good job as a community of putting kids through Little League and, you know, going through these levels and everything. Why isn't it entrepreneurship, STEM, you know, critical thinking? Why aren't we doing the same thing with what really will progress these kids to the next level? And so it shouldn't, we shouldn't be down worrying about, oh, you come to mine or mine. We should be worrying, how far can we hit the footprint? How many more? Not this, you know, I'm stealing this one, you know, participant from you or you. We really need to get everybody pointed in the right direction. And part of that's going to have to happen with, you know, joining arms a little bit. And so we think we're in a position where we can be that for a number of agencies, organizations, everything from educational institutions to you know, businesses that just are really wanting to be part of the conversation. And how do they get into the conversation? Well, if we have a one-stop source for that, you know, we hope that that's good dialogue happening.
To piggyback off of what you're saying, and you know, we get so competitive, especially with the academies. We say there are only so many students in the whole school, and you know, they're going here, they're going there, and there's it just can be combative. You know, even in clocking in, you don't want to look at each other. And how do you turn that around? And my best practices have turned into being collaborate instead of compete with my peers, and find projects that we can work on together. As I said, you know, marketing department collaborating with the culinary department, and our two academies work together to come up with advertising campaigns and promotions for the band projects or for the athletic department. And, you know, what do you need? And then finding those athletes or band members that are in marketing. Say, talk to coach or talk to the band director. What do you need? And let's work on it. And after years of doing that, we become friends and not enemies. And, oh, come here, Carla. And then we have what's called one thing that we do provide for the faculty and staff, any adult on campus that I like to throw out there. What we do with some of the money that we earn from the Cat Shack is we provide coffee, free coffee, complimentary coffee with premium cream and sugar, and you know, organic teas and things, black teas and things like that, green teas, for them daily, every day, and have the students man it, and have the students learn their customer relations from that experience. And when the teachers come by, if it's a custodial worker or if it's a cafeteria worker, smile at them, look them in the eye, you know, tell them who you are. And we call it the watering hole because you have your predators as well as the prey come to the watering hole, and they have to create peace in order to get a drink of water. Well, coffee's the same way. And we bring them all together, and it's made such a huge difference. And I think we're in our 5th year with a complimentary coffee, and it makes a difference to the tone of the school. We've become almost a welcome center of the school now, and people come through, parents or anybody. Well, where can I find this? And the students have to become knowledgeable in order to get that information. So again, it's multifaceted.
And the kids becoming knowledgeable is really the key. I mean, we have to not lose sight of that, and we want them to be as informed about every program, every opportunity, and you know, if they come to the watering hole and find out about some other program, that's okay.
Oh,
they're self-advocating. They're starting to, you know, they're learning about everything that can be a resource to them.
Absolutely.
I'm going to ask one last question, and then we'll open it up. You know, if there's other questions out there. So going forward, what challenges do you see ahead for anyone, any organization that would want to run this type of curriculum or this type of program? What do you see going forward, those challenges?
The challenge is energy. The challenge is finding people that would want to work this hard to come in early and stay late.
We seem to tap into those same resources often, don't we? In our communities. Oh, you know, they will participate. Gulf Power will participate. Maybe Federal Credit, whoever they are. We seem to
the same
Yeah, the
resources.
same resources. Good point.
But you know what it is to get them where they are. So, you know, for one company, it may be funds that they can provide to a program, and they really can't maybe interact on the same level because their people are involved in other things. But for another company, they may be willing to give a whole Saturday to something. They can give you the time, the labor, but they can't necessarily, you know, and we're getting a little better at providing such a host of opportunities that sometimes I find opportunities where I'm oversaturated with people that want to be involved. And so then I have to look a little farther down the line and say, okay, well, maybe on this one, I've got, you know, so many people that want to be involved in this. We need to create a second one, create another program that is an outlet, and also rotating their involvement so that it's fresh. You talked about the bank that had been with you for 8 years. I think that it's important not to tire out our resources because, you know, I mean, just like donors, they want to be out there. They want to be seen. They want the ribbon cutting. They want that experience. It's harder for them in the 5th year, 6th year to be doing that same one. So yes, that puts more work on us to offer new opportunities to highlight one of our stakeholders or somebody involved. And the same with, you know, the students. You know, you can't have the same leaders over and over. I mean, I'm sure every one of you, as a parent, you get a little tired if the same child walks across the stage constantly, right? You know, and you go, okay, they do everything, you know, but we need to find those, reach down and find that child that maybe doesn't win, you know, all the superlatives, but they've done something that contributes a vital piece and creates something for that group. And I know that seems like a simple example, you know, at the elementary level, but you can even do it at a university level or, you know, higher. Is in my company, Dr. Shu's company, with the HR side of things, there are certain people that I have to find ways to reach them and make them feel like they're really part of the team. And I think we have to do that with our programs too. We really have to. That's a good one. Rotate.
We face similar challenges. Like one, how do you keep a program fresh when you'll see these students for 4 to 6 years, depending if they go into master's program. But the other challenge is very much that we've had this outpouring of support from the community, and we've only got, you know, 12 to 16 weeks a semester. And it's like, how do we get everybody in that wants to come in? And so that's helping us really look at, you know, how do we create the highest impact experience so that we can really help these kids, these students, you know, become successful in their careers and their lives. So that's really the challenge that we're looking at going forward.
So what are we teaching? Are we teaching characteristics of an entrepreneur? Or are we teaching skills of business management?
To teach all of the above, don't we? Yeah, I mean,
is there an order?
Dr. Shu has a background as an immigrant in this country, and he came here with $500 and really had the American dream story. I mean, slept in the janitor's closet his first night in the U.S. and at a university where he came a day early before the dorms opened. And he said, when we teach these programs, we don't need to just teach them management or, isolated skill sets. We need to teach them like stamina and push through, because things are going to be hard. And, so we need to teach that ability just as much as we need to teach them how to manage QuickBooks or whatever. We've got to give them a holistic experience.
Yeah, we started out, our very first program was I forget what it's called, it was basically how to be more creative. And the second was how to be more innovative. And now it's like job shadowing, internship, leadership skills, right? Like these things, the more soft skills that are really gonna, because our goal isn't really to create 10,000 new companies out of the school. We're trying to create successful leaders in the community. And some of these, like the coconut guy, Alex Hill, some of y'all might know, like this kid's creating a company, right? He's gonna make some money. But a lot of them, they're gonna be very successful entrepreneurs, as Ken had mentioned. And so we got to really expand our focus on how to, serve all of the students in a way that helps them become innovative, creative leaders, and ultimately entrepreneurs.
Identify opportunity, that's the one.
And identify
opportunity, yeah.
Just a question on that one. So, because I know that this is the Entrepreneurship and Innovation Council. And I've always heard it said that entrepreneurship education in an academic setting is what sets the stage for entrepreneurship, is what creates an entrepreneurial culture. The idea that it is even possible to be an entrepreneur, start that venture. And again, I think to those, we've all probably had experiences in locations or at least heard of, you sit any coffee shop in Silicon Valley and there's just this buzz or this energy that it would be possible to talk to that guy about funding your venture, that just that culture that the entrepreneurial spirit breeds. And so that academic entrepreneurship education breeds that culture and breeds that spirit, that training is what provides the nuts and bolts of how to do it. The curriculum piece, I guess. And so I'm curious, where is the, I don't know what to say, the best place to start, because I'm thinking we can start talking that spirit early on. Where should, and is there, when should that training piece begin? Is that a right way to ask that question?
That's a good question.
I would say that we're waiting too long. When we all gave our first entrepreneurial experience, most of us, it was 10 years old. It sounded like, whether it was Scouts or whether it was, Lemonade or whatever it was. I think we have to dip younger. And when Dr. Shu has described his experiences, he said, oh, imagine what I could have done if I'd only started a lot younger. And you hear these stories all the time about entrepreneurs at 14, 13. I just heard
Can I
some
participate in this conversation?
Yeah.
Well, maybe it's because I heard Brandy say multiple times what you said about we do a good job with Little League. We do a really good job with musical talent and giving them a playground to practice on.
One of my pet peeves, right there. I think we do this in school. We just don't label it. We teach our children to get up and talk about their Christmas vacation, their summer vacation as part of public speaking. Maybe we should put the word entrepreneurship on it, just so they think that, oh wow, I'm public speaking as a business person about my summer school. So maybe we're doing it. We just need to label it differently. I come back to this with what we do in the cyberspace right now, what we're trying to teach in skill sets. It's no different than staying after school to practice band or football or for the play. Stay after school, practice your skill set in cybersecurity. So we're starting to build these things into cyber programs, but it's just the example. We do these things. We don't have to reinvent anything. I think we just have to adapt to the models that we have.
I think we also, we isolate things. We say, this is English class or reading, whatever. This is math, we put everything in a box. And we even do this all the way up in college a lot of times. I liked when I heard you say I've got 80 different majors that come in. Really, we need to apply entrepreneurial principles in every segment of our education. So,
so in your creative writing class, call it proposal.
Right. You can weave these concepts into any setting. Even in my Sunday school class, conversations come up where, allow it to go a little farther out, when they're talking about a concept, we say, well, how would you reach more people with that? What would be your strategy? Ask the what ifs, the why, the why not.
That's the idea of formulation.
Right, because if they start that mental process young enough, I think the grooves are there, and then you add in the nuts and bolts of, specific strategies within, say, cybersecurity, and it comes more naturally because they've already been thinking that way.
I thought creative writing would be a better fit for accounting for the pro formas.
Well, unfortunately, I think our time is up. So I'm going to, first of all, thank the panel for their wonderful feedback. And pass the baton back to Naisy.
Thank you so much for moderating so well and drawing out all the tricks and pieces. And there's many things to think about as we start hearing about the best practices and understanding what's really working. And their exemplary models for sure. So the question would really be the takeaways from them. What's going to happen next? We've gone through three different deep dive conversations related to access to capital, the accelerators and incubators, and taking kind of an asset inventory of education, and there's still more for us to explore, but what are the next steps and what are the takeaways? So we'd love just a few minutes of just kind of thinking through some of those things that could move forward a strategy for economic development, the regional economic development plan, and moving forward Northwest Florida Forwards plan. Just kind of some ideas, anything strike a chord when you listen to the entrepreneurship side? Yes.
What I've paid attention to a lot was the stakeholders, and that is one of the challenges with the program, with the Marketing Entrepreneurship Academy, is because we are growing so fast. So many students want to be a stakeholder, but where there is lack that I've noticed, and Ms. Ross and I, we've been discussing it, is finding those businesses that want to mentor these students. You know, we have students that have businesses. They are business owners in our program, and finding those businesses that are, we have one that's apparel design. He actually has a brand. The students around the school actually wear his brand. And so we having someone that owns an apparel store, a small boutique, or something like that could help this student. We have a young lady that she just graduated, cake pops. They are delicious. The best cake pop I'm sure you ever pop into your mouth. And she's doing well. She's at PSC. But also, some of these bakeries and things, small cakes or that's willing to take these students on that already have these businesses or have the innovation, have the ideas, and can partner with them.
So when there's a student that graduates, so is there a continuum that something about Kelly's like shaking his head? Yeah. So what they happen from a career academy to then what? As a possible.
So the easy. Again, and I mentioned one of the cuts initially. We want that to be the open door to the community. Well, I would love to have cake pops and apparel present over the summer, since they don't have to be in class Wednesdays at 9 a.m. over the summer. But if you'll send them to me, we'll get them connected, because what they then get to do is have the platform to present their business, present their needs. We're not micromanaging what resources come to them, but we have assembled the resource providers and service providers and other entrepreneurs to be there in that space to help brainstorm those ideas. So we have an opening on June, pick a date, but some point over the summer, we will get those students that the opportunity to present. And what comes with that is just a little bit of coaching ahead of time to make sure that they're prepared, they know what to expect, and then, so yes.
So charting out that path and continuum could be potential for the group as well. Just making sure that all those dots are for sure connected.
Absolutely. And then of course I know that once they come to the post-secondary level, then there's the programs.
So when she's been talking about the 1 million cups, I've been listening and thinking about in our area. Our goal is that we hope to have centers across Northwest Florida. And in looking at our local area, we have the ability to possibly bring businesses to the table at the same time as entrepreneurs are having a chance to pitch. But we want students to have a key part in that too. So there may be some collaborative opportunities there where, if you're doing this in Escambia, and we, could help bring in some businesses that could interact with those students before they do a presentation or something, that would be something we'd be interested in.
I like to add that a lot of the times that the DECA side of it is they create these businesses, or they present them on the DECA end first by going to state competition, district competition. And we need business partners that they actually judge our district competition. We'll be looking soon for business partners that will come in and judge the competition. So to have those businesses there when these children have already written these 30, 40-page business plans for the competitions, to have businesses there in that area, that particular career field, that can come in, look over these business plans with them, critique it with them. They're there, they're ready. They want the businesses to come in. We just need to find those that have the time in their schedule that's willing to come in and at the end of the day, just mentor these students from the time they start this program to the time they leave. And like she said, track them along the way.
Maybe like a slogan-focused 1 million cups would be an opportunity.
I think every presenter so far has had a student, or every instance has had a UWS student.
So
love to open that up to some more people.
So that sounds like a great next step, and that seems like an absolute opportunity. An absolute opportunity for the entire region. So just as a segue to the next part of this is ultimately our next steps. And I know people are getting anxious, like what are we going to do? What should we do next? Well, on June 26th is the next meeting, and we're looking at doing a SWOT analysis. And really looking at the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats that have really looking at all the parts and pieces of what we've discovered related to the deep dives, and identify action items. And perhaps one of those would be an action item on a regional level of preparing students to do pitches from career academies. Who knows? Just a thought. And so please save the date for individuals, particularly who have these ideas and thoughts to come. And then on July 12th, the Doolittle Institute is inviting the council members and different individuals to the Small Business and Air Force Research Lab. Fusion, can someone come up and just talk about that real quick?
All right. Thank you. So once again, I'm Steve Bailey from the Doolittle Institute. I'm planning this event for July 12th. Working with the small business innovation research folks at AFRL to put on this event. July 12th, I'm looking at having a briefing by AFRL's chief entrepreneur about innovation and commercialization in AFRL. And then I invited the Northwest Florida Forward folks to give a region overview about accelerators and incubators in the region. I've been talking to Wes, and I probably courtesy copied some other folks on that email traffic. And then we're going to briefly touch on the SBIR proposal tips. I'm still working that out, whether or not it's like a tips and tricks to SBIR proposals, or like maybe the changes to the SBIR program that's coming up. So I'm still working out with my contact with that. And then the exciting part is in the afternoon, Operation Tech Warrior, which they have this operation up in Wright-Patterson up in Dayton, Ohio, where it's a military exercise where small businesses come in and they engage with the military operators, the scientists and engineers at AFRL, and actually get to use their products in a simulated military environment and showcase it and get that real-time feedback. So the chief of Air Force SBIR, he's coming here to talk about that opportunity that they have up in Ohio. So I hope you all can make it. And as soon as we firm that SBIR portion, we're definitely going to be sending out invites, and Lacey's going to be making up a nice little flyer probably to send that out. So look forward to seeing you all there.
And then save the date for July 24th. The topic is up in the open, so if you have If you have thoughts and ideas, please send it to Wes or I, and we can identify the next step of July 24th. So thank you, and that concludes today's roundtable, and appreciate your time.
Thank you.